I hope I didn't make you wait too long, but I finally got another 250, Demon Avenger. This one would have been a lot faster, but I kinda got distracted by League of Legends for 2 weeks, so that's why this one took a little bit longer. It's not because this one really sucks at mobbing or anything, just got distracted by something else. Now, an interesting thing to note before I go over to the equipment for Demon Avenger, I wanted to do a sort of challenge with this character, because I knew Demon Avenger was really strong unfunded. I wanted to see how little funding I could get away with. And before today's 5, 10, 15 event, all of my gear was 12 star. So keep that in mind before we go into this. Well, except for my drop rate gear. So as always, my drop rate gear. Not many actual useful HP lines on these, but it doesn't matter. We didn't need them. We just want that drop rate. A nice tier 7 HP cup that was donated to me. Very nice 22 star belt. A 17 star weapon with really only one line of potential. I honestly thought that was a percent max HP line until like 235. Kind of embarrassed, but it doesn't matter because we didn't need it. The second pendant slot here is for the EXP pendant, which I don't have on now because I moved it into storage. And remember, all of these are epic 2 lines, and they were all 12 star until today. So you don't need 17 star, honestly. It's kind of crazy how strong Demon Avenger is with this little funding. Like, I thought coming into this that I was really pushing it on how little I could fund a 250, but Demon Avenger surprised me again and again by still being able to one-shot or two-shot into maps with so little funding. A 15% attack emblem, pretty handy, pretty nice. No potable badge, as with most of my 250s. And a 9% attack shield. Honestly, oh my god, cubing unique shields is the worst experience of this entire game. I have dumped almost 280 Master Craftsman cubes into my Mihail's shield, and I still haven't rolled 2-line attack. It's the worst. For the V-Matrix, most important one, as always, decent holy symbol. You need the EXP, it's there, it's got your back. It's also got drop rates, just super handy. And then your 2 tri-nodes, Lunar Slash, Execution, 1000 Swords on 1 tri-node, and Nether Shield, Infernal Exceed final damage, and Demon Strike. Now honestly, for most of the time, I would prioritize Nether Shield on whichever main tri-node you're going to put in first, because Nether Shield one-shotting is a ton of EXP per hour difference from Nether Shield two-shotting. It's crazy how much it affects your EXP rate if it's one-shotting. Demonic Frenzy, for mobbing, it's pretty handy. It leaves little puddles of blood around every now and then. That if it's 3-shotting mobs, it's pretty good. And 3-shotting sounds pretty bad, but honestly the tick rate on damage on this is pretty quick. 3-shotting is relatively fast. It's like 1-shotting with Nether Shield, honestly. So it's okay for mobbing. For bossing, I don't know what the hell Nexon wants this to be, because you get bonus damage for being at low health. But when that's useful, you get 1 shot, because everything is percent max HP. Also, to maximize your damage, you have to be standing on top of the boss at low health to get the puddles to stack. And when the puddles are fully stacked, this does a ton of damage when the puddles are fully stacked under a boss. But you just can't put yourself at risk to actually use this in any hard bosses because you're just going to get 1 shot. So really, outside of, like, Helix was the last place I could use this, or Sea Vellum, when I saw that he was underground, I would stand in one place and let the puddles stack up so that when he came up underneath me, I'd have like 3 puddles of damage on him. But beyond that, it's so hard to use this without killing yourself. It's so bad. Decent speed infusion for the extra attack speed. Decent sharp eyes for the crit rate. Demon Avenger doesn't really need crit rate that terribly bad. Maybe it's because I already have Marksman and Night Lord done for my Legion. I have tons of crit rate everywhere. But the crit damage is always useful. True Arachnid Reflection, because it's just extra mobbing you get for completing the Will storyline. Weapon Aura. Now this is my first 250 warrior besides Zero. And honestly, Zero didn't need this skill, because Zero is just absolutely stupid how fast it trains. I kinda like Weapon Aura. I really kinda like Weapon Aura. Especially now that it's been changed, so that it mimics the percent damage of the skill that used it. It's actually really, really handy. And for a lot of maps, it's just bonus range on your mobbing. And it's okay additional damage for bossing, but it's nothing too huge. But I do like the skill. Decent hyper body for more HP. Rope lift, because rope lift's amazing. Always want to have it. Character building for the bonus EXP. And then your last two, Dimensional Sword and Demonic Blast. Honestly, Demonic Blast is just a scuffed version of Marksman's Surge Bolt, and that's saying something. When you could have a scuffed version of Surge Bolt as one of your 5th job skills, that's pretty freaking depressing. And then Dimensional Sword, it's supposed to be like your DPS burst skill on bosses, but the amount of damage you get for having it up is really, really low. It's pretty much just a slightly buffed weapon aura for the majority of its uptime, and then before it expires you want to activate it again to get the burst mode portion out of it, and it's not that much burst. It's really not. It's kind of sad. Like, Demon Avenger has such high base damages everywhere in its kit, but just, it has no burst. And its sustained damage is so bad because you can't realistically stand on top of a boss. But we'll get to bossing. For 200 to 210. Now, I did 248 levels of this character before Flash Jump Toggle was activated. So I went back through and I just like retried some of these maps now that Flash Jump is viable. And honestly, Eastern Cave Path or Below the Cave, it's just pretty good. It's just Flash Jump and Lunar Slash, and then just on cooldown, throw your nether shields. And then when you're over in this corner, since you can't hit the top, you want to use 1,000 swords to hit the top and drop your Lucid Soul. Throw shields on cooldown as always. And honestly, it's been a long time since I played Demon Avenger. I did it to 210 for my links almost a year and a half ago. I feel like I don't have any proof of this because I didn't look any of this up. They had to have changed nether shields. Because honestly, I don't remember it being so finicky to activate. Like, there will be times where I'm looking at a mob and I'll press the nether shield key and it just won't cast. It's like, oh, nope, there's no mobs there, I can't throw a shield. And then there will be times I'll be looking at nothing and the shields will just fly behind me like, ah, found an enemy. Heat-seeking mode activated. But for the most part, you can have 6 nether shields out at a time. You want to always have 6 out at a time, especially if they're one-shotting. It's a big part of your EXP per hour. So yeah, stay here or in Below the Cave until 210 and you'll get there just fine. It's pretty quick. Demon Avenger, again, is no slouch with low funding. It can farm pretty quickly in almost every area. And as always, as always it seems, 210 to 220 I did Slurpee. And hey, do you remember Dual Blade? This is pretty much a scuffed Dual Blade. Lucid Soul goes on the right side. And then you want to hit the portal. And now that you have Flash Jump, you can Flash Jump up here. But what I did, I just used the dash. And then just drop down, drop down, drop down. Throw a shield. 1,000 swords at the bottom. Dash. Drop down, drop down, drop down. Throw shields every time you hit the bottom. And then just use 1,000 swords every second rotation. And honestly, the XP is really good. Demon Slayer is really, really good in these early levels. It's super duper fast. And I actually got to 240 in like 2 weeks. It was one of the faster ones. Then for 200 to 225. Rev Place 3, as always. Now, I did some testing for Occupied Dance Floor 1 because now that you can actually flash jump and you don't have the garbage glide, it's a pretty decent map. But my main problem with it is that nether shields don't go from the bottom to the top. Their like mob jump range isn't big enough. So if another shield decides to go up or down on the left or right, they're just gonna vanish once those mobs are dead. So it's not as efficient as Rev 3. So I would stick to this unless you don't want to buy Firestarter service, which is very reasonable because that adds up Mesa-wise, but Again, hey, do you remember Dual Blade? It's kinda like a scuffed Dual Blade. Again, throw Nether Shield on cooldown. You want to place your Lucid Soul here on the house. One thing to note with Demon Avenger, your Lucid Soul damage is really mediocre. Like, really mediocre? Yeah, I think it's one of the lowest in the game for how much damage your Lucid Soul does. So, don't expect it to be one-shotting, especially not with this little funding. At most, it was two-shotting, and then I went to Arcana, and then it went back to four-shotting. So it's not the greatest, but it'll take care of most of the map. And then just as always, use 1000 Swords on cooldown, use Nether Shield on cooldown, and then just keep jumping and attacking. And it's not too bad. It's pretty good. And then, in Arcana, I finally hit the wall where my funding idea really bit me in the butt. Because with this gear, I'm still not one-shotting in Morass. I'm 250, I'm still not one-shotting. So I'm definitely not going to be one-shotting in Asphera. So those maps are just completely out for training. So that means I'm turbo-locked to Arcana in form of how I was going to get EXP grinding to 250. Now CLP is good. It's really good. Especially now that you can flash jump, CLP is top tier EXP, but I hate CLP. I've been in there way too long. So instead of CLP, I took like a 15% EXP loss comparatively, and I did all of my leveling in upper path. This was pretty decent, but this definitely relies on you having your Demon Frenzy on. Now honestly, I don't know at what level breakpoint for the V node Demon Frenzy stops killing you and you can actually heal through it, but what was mine at? Mine is at 16, and I didn't have any HP issues past this point. Like with Demon Frenzy on full time, I was able to somehow keep up health and just not die to any anti-AFK mobs. That's one thing you need to worry about early on. Like 200 to 220, anti-AFK mobs are the literal devil. If they spawn at a wrong time, if they like somehow dodge nether shields and dodge your lunar slashing it close to you, you're just dead. So always have your safety charms on hand. You don't want to lose the XP. But for here, it's very important. You want to have your Lucid Soul. You want to have your Will Skill if you've got it. And ideally, for Lucid Soul and your Will Skill, once you're in Exceed, here let me stack it up. Once you're exceeded, you want to place like Lucid Soul and then dash twice and then drop the Will Skill so that they're far enough apart that they're not going to start KSing each other. And then here's where I'd start using Wepa Aura as well, because it's just super handy. The rotation is pretty simple. It's honestly just dash. Dash and spam shields, and then drop your summons on cooldown. And as you're dashing, you're going to leave little pools of blood behind that'll kill mobs while you're on the top side of the map. And you just keep dashing, and then each time you hit the side of the map, turn around, throw another shield, drop down, and then dash back to the other corner. If your summons are up, just drop it midway through, turn around, rope lift up or up jump up, either one works. I think up jumping's a little faster, but rope lift's just one button press as opposed to 3. So I use that. And honestly, the XP isn't too bad here. Having nether shields one-shotting is definitely necessary here, so I would say stay in Rev 3 until like 230, 235 even. Especially if you're going for super low funding like this character is, because here you definitely need nether shields to one-shot. Like, you don't need your pools of blood to one-shot. I think mine are barely two-shotting at this point. No, they're three-shotting. I just saw the mob's HP. They're still three-shotting, and it's good enough. You don't need them to one-shot, because the tick rate on the damage is so high, as I was saying. And honestly, I just stayed here until 250, because having so little funding, and having so little arcane force, there was no way for me to just brute force through the mob's HP, Morass and above. So I wasn't able to try out any of those maps. I'm fairly certain Asphera would be fine for Demon Avenger. Again, if your nether shields are one-shotting, you have 1000 Swords as a big AoE that's pretty low cooldown, so you can spam that. And then you could just dash or flash jump and lunar strike. Now that you have flash jump, this class feels so much better. It's probably even better in Asphera now that it can flash jump as opposed to just glide everywhere. But that's where I stayed for my mobbing. Honestly, Demon Avengers mobbing isn't that bad. It's definitely reliant on nether shield one-shotting, but after you get to like one-shotting nether shields, there's really no issues with it. Just dashing and chucking shields from 230, I think, is when I came to Arcana. 230 to 250 got kind of boring, but it wasn't CLP, so I wasn't like tearing my hair out getting it there. Now back to my biggest qualms about Demon Avenger. I honestly don't know what Nexon is thinking with this class. I don't understand, and my biggest confusion comes from Demonic Frenzy. This skill just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I understand if you want Demon Avenger to be like a lifesteal tank who does damage, but the thing is, if you're gonna have health as your main resource and as your damage, you kind of need to be able to out-heal the damage you're taking, or just like be able to survive in general. And if the only saving grace for a class late game is a $2,000 ring in Breath of Divinity that lets you just bypass the health mechanics of this class, that's really sad. Like, that's depressing to even say that the only saving grace for this class late game is a Breath of Divinity. That's so dumb. It's such a beginner-friendly class. It's really unique because it's the only one that just scales off of HP, and then they just make it so miserably bad. Because this is a large portion of your DPS for bossing, and you just can't use it in almost every boss. Because one, you can't stand on top of most bosses endgame because they're just gonna kill you, and two, you can't out-heal the damage it's doing to you in most situations, because a lot of the time in bossing, you're not able to hit the boss to like keep life-stealing through this. So you have to turn it off, and then that puts it on a 2-minute cooldown at minimum. So your burst window is every 2 minutes, and it's not even good burst. Like, Dimension Sword and Demonic Blast with like maybe 1 or 2 ticks of Demon Frenzy, because you're not going to get it stacked all the way up to 5 puddles during a bind situation until like the very last few seconds. It's bad burst. Like, it's not even good for how much you're sacrificing to use it. I don't know what they're doing here. Honestly, I don't know if there's a way to easily fix this either, because like there's probably going to be a next 5th job skill. More than likely, we still have so many slots available for new V-Matrix nodes. I don't think they can fix Demon Avenger's problem with 1 or 2 more skills, unless they just like completely nerf the health drain that Demonic Frenzy has so that you can actually keep it on in most situations and only have to turn it off when you have no target to hit to lifesteal off of. I just don't understand what they're trying to do with this class. Like, I wasn't having a bad time with it, and I wasn't really struggling for damage while mobbing, but just the bossing side of this class, which is honestly half of the game for most people, it just feels bad. It doesn't have any saving graces besides like a Breath of Divinity to completely ignore the Demonic Frenzy health drain. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one. Like, I want to recommend this to new players because it's honestly one of the strongest unfunded classes there is. I mean, I got to 250 with 12-star epic gear. It's ridiculously good for new players, but honestly, I would not recommend this to new players now that I've gotten it to 250. Like, I'd say get it to 210, maybe, because honestly, the 210 is pretty easy. It's a pretty good link skill. But as a main, I don't think I'd ever recommend Demon Avenger. They need to do something to help this class, and I don't know what it is, because there's so many problems here that I don't think there's one easy fix, besides just like going through all of the skills and making them individually better, or just making them individually less bad in Demonic Frenzy's point of view. But again, this one only took a whole month to finish because I got really apathetic to playing Maple about level 240 on this character, and I don't want this game to turn into a chore, especially not when I'm grinding to 10k Legion. So I just hard stopped playing Maple Story for about 15 days and gave myself a rest, gave myself a breather so that I could come back and actually enjoy this. I never want this to turn into a chore. But I'm back, feeling good. I might get taken away by League of Legends again soon, because that Fiddlesticks rework looks pretty fun. Probably gonna regret playing, but I want to try it out. As for the next 250, I've decided I've put it off long enough. I finally got the power source complete. I'm gonna do Xenon next. I've really been looking forward to playing Xenon, not because I know how the class works and it's super easy or anything, but just because of Omega Blaster. Honestly, just that one skill, just the animations, the damage lines, the sound effects, it makes me want to play Xenon, so I'm gonna play Xenon. And I hope I see you in that next video. Hopefully it's not as far away as this one was to Dual Blade. But, as always, if you have any questions about my grind for 10k Legion, about playing Demon Avenger, or about playing MapleStory in general, feel free to ask down in the comments below. I make it a point in all of these videos to answer any and all questions related to the game, because honestly I love this game, and I want more people to play it. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I'll answer if I can, or I'll point you in the right direction. I hope you liked this video. I'll see you in the next one.